Hey guys, Dr. Ken Nordberg again. I got another really interesting subject I want to talk to you about. But before I start, I'd like to ask you to be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Press that red button. You know, I'll probably ask you that 100 times in the next years, but please do that for my sake. And then also, if you like what you're hearing, be sure to also click on that thumbs up part there. Well, what I want to talk to you today is a kind of an unusual subject. You've probably never heard this before in your whole life. It has to do with tracks again. Now, I'm currently writing a magazine article about this, and I might write a blog about it as well in the near future, but here's what it's all about. Every now and then, maybe if you're a veteran hunter, you've had it happen. You'll be walking in the woods, and maybe going back to camp from sitting on a tree stand all morning, and here's some deer. The deer tracks came out, and this deer walked right in your tracks in the snow. There they are, right there in your tracks. Now, it kind of depends on your hunting, whether you find a lot of this or not. Like if you're a still hunter, you're moving around a lot, you aren't going to see a lot of that. If you do, it probably won't be repeated very often. If you're making drives, same story. But if you're a stand hunter and you take precautions to try to avoid being identified, whether you're traveling to or from your stand site, or at least try to, you're not displaying hunting behavior, you're not sneaking and stopping often to look around. That's serious hunting behavior of a hunter. If you're not doing that kind of thing, if you're just walking steady from place to place, like you're going from camp to your tree stand, don't stop the whole way. Or going back to camp, don't stop the whole way. Or midday, like if you're using my hunting method called opportunistic stand hunting, and you're walking on your big cruise trail to look for very first tracks of a big buck. You don't stop there either, you just keep moving. You keep your head pointed straight, like you're not at all interested in deer, you're just going way down there somewhere. That's all you're doing. You're walking straight and you're predictable to the deer. And because you're predictable, rather than bound away, they'll just move aside, stand there and cover and watch you go by. Because you're not dangerous, not at the moment. It's just like wolves aren't dangerous when they're cruising in search of fallen deer. They won't bound away from that either. So you don't want to be displaying hunting behavior. So if you're a stand hunter who never displays hunting behavior while you're traveling in the woods on foot, whether to a stand site or maybe midday cruising, you're going to see a lot of that. And here's why. Like for example, there's a buck I'm going to hunt this fall. I can't wait now. But I was talking to one of my sons about a month ago about where I'm planning to hunt this year. And he mentioned the fact, Dad, there's one, we got talking about this deer walking in our tracks. He said, there's a big buck on the trail between our camp and what we call a creek crossing. He's been living there for quite a while. He's gotten to be big. And we never stop. When we're going there, we just keep going and go across, and we're out of that buck's area. This kind of on the edge of his home range, or bleeding range. And it's real thick cover there. It's kind of place bucks like to bed during the day, and we're in midday, that kind of thing. I don't know if there's a bedding area there, buck bedding area in that stretch, but I bet there is. I hate looking for them because I hate disturbing bucks in the bedding area, because once you do, they don't have a safe place to bed, and a lot of bucks will decide, I'm getting out of here until the hunting season is over. I don't like that. But anyway, because that buck is used to having hunters, not just one hunter, 3 of us go walking down that trail, 4 even. My son John, his son, and my son Ken and his son, they could all go down that trail in the morning keep going, disappear, out of sight and hearing. And the buck, he's so used to that, he doesn't worry about you. He's not going to leave this area. As long as you keep doing it, he's learned he doesn't have to worry about you when you're using that trail. Good safe place for him to be. Now, imagine that. There could, if you're a stand hunter and you're not displaying hunting behavior when you're walking in the woods, you could have several bucks doing that where you hunt. I know 3 right now that have been doing that this last year. They were doing it last year. And they're alive now, this year. Now, when we're up there, I'm going to keep working at helping that buck to believe that's going to continue happening. Nothing to worry about, I don't have to run away. One of them, oh geez, one of them was doing that to my buddy Silver, Stan said, he was doing that day after day, and I finally discovered what was going on, but the buck was too quick for me to get a shot at him. But anyway, this happens. So, well, you might think now, oh boy, it's kind of nice, but the point is, wherever you walk in the woods, and you start seeing fresh tracks of a deer that's been walking on top of your tracks, and if he's doing it over and over again. One of the last bucks I shot was doing that. When Silver and I had head back to camp for lunch, look at it, this darn thing has been, it was buck-sized tracks, you know, mature buck-sized tracks. He's been walking in our tracks here this morning while we were out there at our stand sites. Then we come back in the afternoon, and look at here, he's been walking in our tracks again while we were in camp. And we see this happening repeatedly. That buck is vulnerable. I mean, if you do things right, you're going to get him. That buck, you know, when I saw that, I thought, son of a gun, you know, there's a feeding area. It's a clear cut. It was getting a little grown up, but the deer were feeding it. A little narrow thing. I think what I'm going to do, when we go up in the afternoon, I was telling Silver, I'm going to go up the trail and get up on the north side. You know, the wind is coming from the south then, and make a circle around. I got a place that I'm going to go to, or the clump of spruces, overlooking, it's on the little hillside, overlooking that narrow feeding area. And I'll bet you I'll get the buck there. So we went out there, and you know, I was sitting there relaxing. I figured, oh, I probably won't see him till about 4 o'clock or so. 2:30, I saw a deer moving down there. All these spruces around, I could just little glimpses. It's a buck. And so all I do is wait, and finally it gets down in front of me, and it was eating suckers on stumps of sugar maples. And those things are pure red, dark red. And whitetails love them. Oh, they love those things. And he got down to a little clump right down in front of me. You know, it wasn't real close. It was still about 100 yards away down there in this little valley in front of me. And he stepped up to one of those, and easy shot. I'm a good shot at 100 yards. I dropped him in his tracks. So that happens that can happen when you find deer that think they're safe, and they're telling you they think you're safe by repeatedly walking on your tracks like that. Now, like I say, I got 3 bucks like this. The biggest one, I'm certain now, right now, he's a 5.5-year-old, which means he's almost certainly a 10-pointer, maybe even 12-pointer. We get some 12-pointers up there. But he's a huge buck. And that's going to be my opening day buck if the wind is favorable. Now what I intend to do when I'm walking, John and Jim and Ken and Ryan, I know opening morning they're going to go right down that trail. Now either I have to go with them and then drop off quickly and get into a blind on a downwind side. I got a place where it would be perfect with a south wind. My scent will be blowing off into an open go across an open beaver pond to the other side, so it would smell me. Great spot to sit. But if the wind is from the west, then that won't work. Because that means that when I get down there, I'm going to have to get off trail and all this stuff. If that buck is close, and he's going to be close, it's just stretched that's maybe about 4 city blocks long, he's going to be in there somewhere. So I got to I have to be able to get downwind of him where he can't see me and do it in a way that he can't hear me. I got to find a deer trail over there on the east side, going through really thick popple trail, quaking aspens. And to get to the back side of a knob, a little hill that my wife and I named Four Bear Hill because we met 4 bears there one time. One of them a really mad mother bear. Anyway, I got to get around to the east side of Four Bear Hill. And by staying over there, there's no way on earth he's going to be able to see me getting close. Now, at the top of the Four Bear Hill, I can look down and see the trail right down there. It's going through it won't be a big wide opening. That's not as necessary for buck hunting. If you're a good shot, all you need is some little 1-foot diameter holes in the cover, Wait, you hear the buck when he gets in there, that's what we're going to do. But anyway, that's what I'm looking for now. When we do our scouting this year, I want to make sure I've got a good natural blind up there on the top of Four Bear Hill where I can see that trail. And if it isn't perfect, I may add a few things, like a few evergreen boughs. And I'm going to make sure these big dead ferns that are there and the sweet ferns that are there, that crackle when you walk through them or step on them. I want to make sure I'm going to stamp those down all the way up the back of that hill to where I'm going to get up there. And here's the blind in front of me, and I might have to lean down there when I get up toward the top, so in case he's down there, he can't see me when he's close enough. And I'm going to sit there. That's going to be my west wind blind for taking that buck. You see, that's going to take a little preparation. So, another one. What if it's the north, I could come from the south and make the same motion. It'd be all right and sit crosswind. But I'm thinking with this buck, I can't just depend on this spot here or this spot down here, that's 2 spots there. I should have another one further up. And so what I'm planning to do there, I have to make a more roundabout route to get to that area. But I figure if I do this, my odds of taking them, a new stand site every half day, just in case, taking all these precautions. The third one, I'm going to go east for a ways. And this is for a north, northwest, west wind, southwest wind. Further down that trail, all this thick evergreen cover. I'm going to go east for a while, and there's a line of evergreens in a low area over on one side that curls out toward Four Bear Hill. So I think to get to this further place, this place that's further down, what I'm going to have to do is travel through those evergreens until I'm well past it. Four Bear Hill, I'll be lower than that trail. It won't see me all the way across through that area. And then I can turn west to get to another blind overlooking that trail a little further down. So natural. Good thick cover where I can sit down and I'm covered. No big changes. You got a lot of big changes around your stand site. You're not going to fool a big buck like this one. You just aren't. It's got to be so natural looking. If he looked up there for 5 minutes, he wouldn't see anything unusual up there. Nothing weird. And besides that, everything. All those guys gone by an hour ago. Don't have to worry. They went up the trail just like they always do. He's been trained to think that way. So these are things I'm planning now. There's another one. There's the old 2 guys go in and 1 guy come out. We do that for bear a lot of times, and it works for deer too. It's the reason, your father takes his 10-year-old boy, he's going hunting for the first time. Maybe he's got a 20-gauge shotgun he's using. He takes him to a stand, And his father, he wants him to get a deer. And so he sees these 4-inch tracks and 1-inch droppings and trails, and there's feeding area over there, things like that. All the things that add up to a good spot for taking a big buck. He takes his son in there. Now, like I say, it's hard to fool a big buck. But he takes his son in there, and the buck hears, oh, here they come. You know, here comes some people. And so he'll probably move off a little bit, kind of stand a little cover in that vicinity and listen and watch, sniff the air, that kind of stuff. But the guy takes him to the stand, and he said, now, you climb up there. You climb up there. And then Buck's hearing all this. And he goes up there and he sits down and he gets all set down. He said, now, don't leave that stand until I come back for you. Okay. So fathers say that to 10-year-olds. Don't want them getting lost in this wilderness. Well, anyway, so then he goes away. He's got another stand, not too far away, within easy hearing, because you know, because he got to keep close to the kid. You don't want him to get into trouble there all by himself. So he goes away. Well, that buck is out there. Oh, he came in and now he went away again. So now it's safe. This is one of those bucks, you know, like I'm talking about. He's kind of used to people going through this area, and I'll be darned, he walks in your tracks, one of those kind of things. In that case like that, the buck said, well, they came and then they went, so it's safe now. And the boy gets him. There's a shot. And that father can't wait to get back at that. So that's why sometimes little kids get great big trophy class bucks because of what their fathers did. And 2 going in, 1 going out, and the buck thinks, whoever came in, they went out again. It's safe now. You can do that with black bears too. So anyway, that's another case of what to do when you find that. Well, here I am, 84 years old, talking all excited about things like this. I got a 5.5-year-old buck doing this. And if I play my cards right, take all those precautions I've talked about earlier, my odds of getting him will be very good. I'd like to take that 5.5. But I got 2 others. This one, I call that the creek crossing buck. I've got another one I call the totem trail buck. He's been doing that now for a couple of years. There's one out there, and just by accident, I found out where he likes to be, where he likes to feed. You know, I couldn't believe it when I found all those tracks of him and other deer in the snow. I got to get into that place and figure out now. I got to have some downwind for south, because south's real common for us on the opening weekend, south wind. And west winds are real common, which means I can't walk up that trail past that without that buck smelling me. Well, you might think it's okay, he went up there and he doesn't know, but somehow I got to get back to the downwind side of that thing. So I got to figure that out too. But that's a good buck also. Now, there's one other one. What was it? I was thinking, oh, that's the West Pond Trail buck. You know, my son David and his son have been thirsting to take this big buck. Last year I hunted over there, and they have a trail made, but the problem with that trail is, if you go into this one stand site next to a nice sizable feeding area, on that trail, and the wind is from the southwest to the northwest, that buck and 3 other deer will smell you going in every time. And if you stop up there and your wind's coming back toward them, they're down there, they're gonna go around you without you knowing it. And it happened to me twice last year. I went out there, I used that trail to get there, and when I left, I had to go down this steep, brushy hill to get to the trail going back toward camp. And when I got to the bottom, it's all brushy. 4 sets of really fresh tracks with some mature buck-sized tracks along with them. Twice last year they did, because they smelled. Now, they weren't used to me, somebody going through that area where this trail goes. It only happened twice last year, just when I went there. This was not something they're all used to. But I'm thinking this. If I renew, I had a trail I made there 1991 along the west side of a string of beaver ponds. If I go into that area where that stand is, where these deer were putting on the clinic on how to avoid a hunter for me, if I go in along the west pond trail, they won't smell me the whole way. They just won't smell me. And if it's a relatively, there's a deer trail there, and there's remnants of my old trail there. And my wife and I, she helped me make that trail. But I'm going to take that trail to that ridge close to that clear cut. And that way, those deer won't know I'm there. Now, that's another buck I want to hunt. So there's 3 bucks with plans for hunting. The first 2 are bucks that have been trained without us realizing, well, we realize it now, but to believe that they can manage there just fine. We can walk on that trail of theirs all we want. They never have to worry. They can live a quite normal life there, so close to watching us going by 2, 3, 4 times a day on that one trail. So I hope I have a good account of what happened to that after November this year. Okay, so that's another thing about tracks. You know, tracks can provide the hunter with so much useful information. I think, well, I know, we rarely ever see the buck we're going to take before the hunting season begins. We rarely see him. All we see is his tracks and droppings, maybe some antler rubs and ground stripes, things like that. But we don't see that buck until the first time he shows up. There's the buck. And so often, you know, like I had one, I tried to get that one for 3 years in a row, and he kept outboxing me. But finally, the 3rd year, I remember it was getting light in the morning, and I was on this ridge, and I saw a deer coming, and then I saw the rising sun flashing on his antlers, and obviously, those are pretty good sized antlers in there, high. That's the buck. He's finally showing up. First time I ever saw him, and he was a 13-pointer. I got him one shot, dropped in a little valley down there below that ridge. So we just don't see him, and until they finally make that mistake, and that our advantage in each case is knowing what that buck's tracks and droppings are telling us. And so that's what buck hunting's up. You know, that's so much fun, really. When you've been hunting for years and years and years and don't ever see a really big one, when you get to the point where you start seeing them every season, this is amazing. And you know, you never balk. And, you know, if somebody told you, oh, you can't tell what size deer by the length of their track, or you shouldn't, it's crazy to go out there in the dark in the morning, or anything like that. Anybody says that, we just will grin and bear it. We won't, yeah, you can believe that if you want, that's fine. But you won't ever convince us, because it's paid off to us, for us, so many times. So far, since 1990, 101 times, 101 mature bucks for 4 of us. Now, who do you know? What 4 guys do you know who hunt on their own on public land who've done that well? Well, no. We know better. And so I'm trying to make you understand that and believe this. And the sooner you do, the sooner you're going to become a regularly successful buck hunter. And your buddies or friends say, geez, what are you doing to get all these bucks? You know? And you'll know how it's done. So, you know, I'm 84. I don't know how many more years I've got. It won't be 20, that's for sure. And so, one day I'll be gone, and you'll be the next guy to be able to teach other guys how to do what I've been telling you, you know. And that's a comforting thought to me. I want lots of you guys to have learned these things and remember me long after I'm gone as being the guy that taught you this stuff. And how glad you're. I get letters all the time from people. One guy's, we have 11, his wife and I, on our walls, big, 10-pointers. That's a lot of 10-pointers. All because of what you taught us. Real thankful for that. So, you will be too. Well, with that, it's time to quit. So, with that, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, poke the red button. And if you like what you just heard, and you will, also poke that thumbs up button. Thanks a lot, guys. See you again soon. Be sure to visit my website. Here's the link. Here you'll find links to my blog posts, my Twitter account, my YouTube account, my Amazon store with links to my ebooks, my son's eBay store, a money saver if you're ordering from Canada or other countries, my website bookstore, and much more.